Hey guys, I'm Lenore Bowles and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about something that I am very passionate about, and I've been getting a lot of flack from my inner circle recently. Not really flack, but they give me a hard time sometimes because it's all love, but about my dating life or lack thereof. So I am here to say, despite what anyone says to or about you, do not lower your standards because you are lonely. So, I get this all the time, and this weekend I went out and, had a great time with my friends, and I, got dolled up a little bit, did my hair, put makeup on, actually got dressy and, well, dressy for me. But I got so much flack from my friends about why are you single and you're too pretty for that and blah, blah, blah. And I just kind of laugh and say, when God's ready to send me a guy, he will. But honestly, it's because I know exactly who I am. I know exactly what I want, and I know exactly what I will not accept. And for some people, they're like, well, you're never going to meet anyone if you don't go out the house. Well, I don't go out the house because I like to be in the house. And I do go out sometimes, but it's not a huge priority for me because I have other things going on. And, writing a book does not happen outside of the house. Like, I have to actually be somewhere to write this book. And I really just focus on other things, and dating is not a priority. It's great and it's welcomed, and I'm not opposed to it, and I'm very open to the idea of dating someone, and I think I'm ready, but it's not my number one priority because I never want to get to a space where I'm so desperate to meet someone that I'm letting other things in my life sacrifice, that I'm letting other things in my life suffer because I'm willing to sacrifice them for the sake of dating. I never want to be that person. I never want to get to that space. So I have I'm not going to lie, being single sometimes is lonely. And I've said this before where I was like, dang, it's Saturday night. I could be out on a date. But instead I'm at home like writing my book, or I'm at home like just watching Netflix by myself with the dogs. And I'm okay with that. Like, it's not a big deal for me because it's not a huge priority in my life. And I understand that the people around me really love me and they want me to be happy and they want me to like move forward because I've talked about like my dreams of marriage and having children and all of that, which is true. That is all still true. But it's not the number one thing in my life. Like, the number one thing in my life right now is my relationship with God and my nephew. And everything else comes after that. And I'm really just focusing on that. And I truly believe when it's time for me to be dating and it's time for me to meet someone, that I will meet him. And until then, I'm cool with what I'm doing. And don't let like the noise of other people telling you what you should want and what you should desire and need and all of these things. Like, don't let other people decide what you should be doing with your dating life. If you're happy being single, be single. If you want to start dating. Now, I say this every time I start talking about dating. I am opposed to online dating for some very interesting reasons. One of them, someone tickled me on a date, was not fun. I've met some weird people. I've met some, I don't know. There's a lot of stories. I got stories for days. But all of those things are wonderful. Dating is wonderful, but it's not the priority in my life. And I think because it's not the priority, when it comes, it's going to be amazing because I'm used to bad and I want it to be good. So I don't want to, like, I really just want to work on myself and be like the best version of myself that I can be. And I can only do that by actually working on myself and not focusing so much on the fact that I'm single. So it does get lonely. I live alone. So it definitely gets lonely. And is sometimes very, very boring. And I've learned to entertain myself with the dogs. And sometimes that's like, let's go for a walk at the park. And let's just go for a long walk around the neighborhood. Like, there could be a bunch of things. I do some of my hobbies. I do all kinds of things that make me happy. And other people don't understand that. So I just encourage you to not let people tell you what you should be doing, and do not sacrifice your mental stability, your happiness, your whatever it is. Don't allow your standards to dip because you're lonely. And sometimes we can get into that where we will date a guy who, I don't know. And I'm thinking like my much, much, much younger years, but date someone without a car. And me and my ex did that for a long time, like a long time. And it's because I really wanted to be with him, but I knew I was too good for him. Even then, that was a red flag, that he would not go get a new car when his had broken down. And instead, I just shared my car. And that was double wear and tear on my car. And that was me lowering my standards because I deserve better than that. I shouldn't have to sacrifice my transportation for a grown man. But I did it. And after the relationship, I have really had to that was one of the things that I felt so dumb about, because in the moment, it seemed like a good idea, but it wasn't. And I really had to understand that I was lowering my standards, and I was putting up with something that I was too good for, and I was dealing with someone that I was too good for. And so I'm getting much better at realizing the things that, and I'm going to get a little biblical, and I am not a scholar, and I can't quote the Bible by some verses, but not a ton. But the Bible talks about being equally yoked and not dating someone who's unequally yoked. And I definitely was dating someone who was not even close to my level. And I saw so much potential. And I tell you now, do not date potential, because they will not live up to your expectations. And sometimes they don't live up to their own potential or their own expectations. And then you're left feeling crappy. And that's hard. It's tough, because I knew, and I still did it. And I still did it. And there's no excuse for it other than the fact that I wanted to be in this relationship because I loved him. And I always put it in quotes because hindsight's 2020. It was not love. It was, I needed someone because I had so many issues, a lot of them stemming from childhood that I didn't deal with. And so I was willing to accept less because he was giving me the ounce of attention that I craved a long time, since childhood. And that sucks. And it's not just dating a guy who doesn't have a car, or a guy who doesn't have a job, or someone who has a lot of dreams and a lot of ideas, but won't execute on one, just one. And I spent a lot of time chasing my dreams, and I did it. I wanted to publish a book, and I did it. And I had no support from my partner, zero. And just as an example, I remember, I can't remember which hurricane it was, but Atlanta had no power for a while, and we didn't have power for 2 days or something like that, 2 or 3 days. And I knew we weren't going to have power for a while. So I was still writing my book. So I charged my laptop, and I charged all the phones, and I had these power banks. So I charged all of those so that we could have juice to get to work, because we still had to go to work, and my work had a shower, his work had a shower. So we were good because we could shower at work and just go in early, whatever. And it was 11:30 at night, and I couldn't sleep, and he couldn't sleep because the howling of the wind, it was bad outside. It was like Atlanta was in the middle of a hurricane. And I had finished the first 3/4 of my book, and I was so proud of it. And I just wanted him to share in my excitement of almost finishing my book. And this is hard to talk about because it was another red flag. It was just another thing that I was like, yep, you're too good for him. And I remember thinking that, like, why can't you just support me? And I started reading my prologue. Now, the prologue is like, I don't know, a page and a half, 2 pages, maybe 3. It's not that long. It's a prologue. So it's just like an intro to the story. It just gave a little bit of background information. And I got halfway through the prologue. So like, if it's 3 pages, I got a page and a half in. And he was like, I need you to stop. I don't want to do this right now. And I'm like, well, what the hell else do we have to do? We're sitting in a damn hurricane in the dark. And it's raining and howling. It's not like we could do anything. And I was so angry because I just wanted him to share in the excitement. And he would not even give me the benefit of 5 minutes of listening to the first chapter, prologue in the first chapter. I didn't even want to read the whole thing. I just wanted him to like see how this thing that I had been working on for 5 years, I had been writing this book by this point. See how much hard work I put into it and how much it had evolved because I had told him things about it. And really I didn't realize how much he just did not give a damn about what I was doing. And he didn't give a shit that I wanted to be a writer and that I wanted to publish books and that I wanted to impact people. And as much as people don't like romance, it is the biggest category of fiction book in the world. It is the highest selling, fastest selling, and I was writing it and I was crushed. And I remember going, okay, well, I'm kind of tired. And so I went upstairs in the dark and I cried myself to sleep because I really just wanted this person that I loved so much to love me enough to suffer through 1 chapter of my book. And he didn't. He couldn't even do that. And so that was like another revelation for me. And I really understood that I needed to make a change. And I had been praying for a way out for a while, but I don't know, this is probably like 2016, 2017, and I really just was done. And I started praying for a way out because that was really the last straw for me, because I had done other things where I was out hustling and I worked in an MLM. And for those of you who don't know what an MLM is, it's a multi-level marketing. So I worked for a company and I went out and did parties. And I did parties on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and sometimes Sunday afternoons to make extra money for the house. He wouldn't even support that. And I was making a lot of money, but I was tired. And so I'd ask him to load and unload my car because I had to take all of this product in to do shows, and I had a table and, like the whole setup. And he couldn't even support that. But I would come back. I would go to work on Thursday. I would get off work around like 4:30 or 5. And then I would go do a party at 6 or 7. And I would come home with cash in hand. And he liked the cash, but he didn't like the hustle. And for me, that was hard because I was like, damn, I need somebody who's going to hustle with me, who's going to put in as much work and as much effort for us to grow and build. And he didn't have that mindset. And that was tough for me as well. And that was me lowering my standards because I have the business mindset, and I have, not that I'm like this grand business owner, but like once I invest in a business, I'm going to work that business until it's not viable anymore. And for me, I let my relationship kill my business because I was tired of fighting about loading the car. And I'm like, dude, I'm working 50 hours a week or more. All I want you to do is load my car. Like, I just need you to load my car and unload my car at the end of the night. You don't have to do anything else. It takes 5 seconds. And that was tough for him. And, I had to let all of that go because it would be really easy to still be upset about that. And it was really easy to feel some kind of way throughout that relationship. And I think I would say I would let it go, but I really held on a piece of that anger because it fueled me to finish the book. When he did not want to listen to what I had written and poured my soul into, and he just couldn't care less, I knew I had to finish that book and make it the best version that I could. And before I actually released my book, we broke up. So it had gone through me finishing the last little bit, like the end of 2017, like middle 2017. I finished the book. It went into editing. I started fixing it and making it the best version. And then I had stopped. I'd stopped in the editing process because the fighting was so bad that I didn't have the energy to work on my own dream. And I really just had the energy to come in, fight, and go to bed because that's what it would be every night. And it was a constant fight and a constant argument. And it'd be about little things. And I let him talk really bad to me. And it would be so bad that he would say things that scarred me. And to this day, the wounds have healed, but the scars are still there. And it's something that I'm gonna, like, there are some things that you take into new relationships because it was so painful. And it was very painful to deal with someone who didn't appreciate me and said some really nasty things to and about me and treated me very badly. A lot of which I didn't find out until after the relationship, thankfully, because I don't think I could have handled it if I were in the relationship still. So I really, really, really lowered my standards because I was lonely. And I just want you to know that I've been there and it's hard and I understand, and I'm there right now where I am single and sometimes I'm lonely. Like, I'm not going to act like I'm just out here killing this thing called life without like having moments where I'm lonely or where I'm like, a boyfriend would be really great right now. Like, all right, God, I'm ready for my husband. I say this all the time. All right, God, I'm ready for my husband. And clearly I'm not, or he's not ready for me to have him. But you know, there's things like, it's a sacrifice. It's something that I'm ready for, but I'm not seeking. And that's the difference. You don't have to chase a relationship for the sake of having a relationship because you're lonely. Because that's when we start ignoring red flags, and that's when we start living recklessly and doing things that we would never do and allowing things to happen to us that we would never do. And it's hard to pull back once you're in that space. And I mean, it took me 7 years to pull this all back. And it didn't get toxic right away. There were red flags in the beginning, but it wasn't toxic yet. But once it got toxic, it was too late because I had been excusing those red flags for so long that like I had to rectify that for myself. And I couldn't understand how I got into this place. And now I felt like I was stuck. And I would say I can't go because he has nowhere to go. And that was my justification for the relationship for a long time. Like, he has nowhere to go. He doesn't have a car. He's sharing all of these things are things that I've said out loud. And honestly, it was a cop-out because he was a grown man. He figured it out after the relationship. Why couldn't he do it before I let it go? So please, please, please love yourself enough to set your standards and stick to them. Do not sacrifice who you are as a person, who you deserve, the kind of treatment you deserve. Don't sacrifice any of that for the sake of being in a relationship. Walk away because the one for you will come. And I will leave it there this week. Thanks so much for watching. Of course, please make sure you like and subscribe and click that little bell so that you get a notification when I post a new video. And I will see you in the next video. Later. Bye.